The 2026 Toronto Regionals have just concluded, and today we're going to break down the top 8 teams from that tournament. We're going to be taking an in-depth look at the players' choices, their moves, their items, their sets, and why they did what they did. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing or leave a like. Either one is greatly appreciated. Without further ado, let's check out these teams. The first team we're going to take a look at here is Eric Stewart's. Eric Stewart is definitely kind of a dark horse player. He does have other top 8s. He's very, very good at the game, but just not someone who you see at a lot of the tournaments. But when he does show up, he shows up with style. Eric is an incredible player, and again, Toronto was no different. Now let's break down his team. This team is actually something that we've seen before. Maddie Moo was able to do incredibly well with it in a recent online tour in the past month, but after that, the team kind of disappeared. It was really, really smart of Eric and his team building partner Lorsi to pick this team going into this tournament. It has two very, very distinct modes, with the Fergraph as the Trick Room mode and the Tornadus as the Tailwind mode. I think what makes this team so appealing and awesome to use is those two modes. Now the Trick Room mode is very, very obvious here with Fergraph, Incineroar, and Ursaluna. You can also obviously set up Trick Room with a Follow Me Trick Room. You got that guaranteed Trick Room if you want it, unless you play something like, I don't know, Golden Go Regidrago, right? Like something with 2 spread moves to get past you, and that Regidrago would also probably need the Terra Ghost. But if you don't play that, Trick Room, easy option. You can set it up almost every single time. And then obviously that other mode is that Tailwind mode. But what's really cool about this team is Ursaluna just blends both modes together just so freely, right? The Ursaluna paired with the Tailwind can actually outspeed a lot of the meta if you're willing to invest in that. Now we don't know how fast the Ursaluna was, but my guess is that it was able to outspeed something like Ogerpon. It definitely can outspeed stuff like Landorus or Shifu in Tailwind. So it's actually a pretty solid Tailwind Pokemon if there's no enemy Tailwind. And obviously if there is enemy Tailwind, you don't really care because, again, you have Trick Room. So you kind of deter that. It's a really, really heavy mind game in Team Preview. The other Pokemon I think are pretty self-explanatory. We have Ogerpon Fire. Again, he synergizes incredibly well in the Tailwind mode, but also can help set up Trick Room with Follow Me. And then this Specs Fluttermane. Specs Fluttermane I think is really, really strong right now, and I really love the way that Eric is using it here. Sunny Day on Tornadus to potentially boost it up, and also just Tailwind. Tailwind plus Fluttermane lets you deal with a lot of the bulky Fluttermanes, and it just lets you put the offense on immediately. And also, if the Fluttermane is potentially the fastest Pokemon on the field, you can just Sunny Day and you can hit them with a Specs boosted Terra Fairy Special Attack Booster Photosynthesis Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast. Nothing is living that outside of a very bulky fire type. So I think overall this team gives the player a lot of options, and I think it gives a good player many options to win. And I think Eric is an incredible player, and he was able to leverage that and get himself into the top 8 of the Toronto Regional Championships. So next up, we have Dorian Kang. Now, Dorian's actually had quite a good run lately. He's been dominating the Toronto local scene, which is where the tournament is held, and he also won a giant VR tournament recently with something very, very similar. So Dorian has perfected this team, and he's here to defend his home nation's regional. But unfortunately for Dorian, that run was cut short in top 8. Now, looking at his team, it does look kind of boring at first glance. A lot of very common archetypes are based off of this team, but Dorian has a little bit of Dorian sauce here. So first things first, let's start with the Fluttermane and the Arcanine. Fluttermane is here to just spread speed control, whether it's Icy Wind, whether it's Thunder Wave. It's extremely bulky and hard to kill, and it's just really, really annoying. Now, one thing that Dorian did run was Terra Fire on Fluttermane, which is not something you see a lot, but it is really, really nice, especially as defensive Terra into Steel types. Now, the Arcanine is another huge part of this core. It provides Intimidate for the team and also the Fluttermane. Fluttermane's weakest stat is, of course, its defense, so having this Arcanine paired with it is just incredible. You can also spam the Icy Wind and the Thunder Wave. It's a really easy and simple strat, flinch them, right? But it is effective, right? Whether or not you're going for it doesn't really matter. You do have the option to if the situation gets tight. And then next up is a really boring Ogerpon Water. Nothing really to talk about here. It is really, really important for the typing and the overall composition of the team, right? It gives you that water grass coverage, and it also gives you Follow Me, which is just incredible in this format. Next up, he rounds it out with a really cool Rillaboom right now. Obviously, it's just Wood Hammer, Grassy Glide, High Horsepower, Fake Out. High Horsepower is the go-to move right now, just to hit Incineroar, hit Raging Bolt. The ground coverage is just really desired in this format. But where Dorian changes up a little bit, he threw on a clear amulet on the Rillaboom, which allows him to just be unintimidated. So he is always just chilling there, not getting his stat drops, which is really good in the current format with the Icy Wind Flutters, Intimidate from Incineroar. It just allows Rillaboom to be the staying force that can do a ton of damage. It also can be comboed up with Thunder Wave to just kill really big threats with a potential Terra Ground. And the Terra Ground is another thing to mention, is that it is actually so good. It stops the enemy Thunder Waves. It allows you to nuke stuff like Raging Bolt and Incineroar. So I think overall, a really good choice for this tournament and the meta where it is currently at. Then we have Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt is just kind of boring. I think his set is really solid. It gives you a little bit more speed control with Electro Webs. Raging Bolt is just a Titan and a stat stick that cannot be killed. And I think, especially the AV versions, it's all about just surviving and just sitting there on the field spamming your moves, whether it's Thunderbolts for damage, Dragon Pulses for those super effective hits, or just Electro Webs just to slow things down. Raging Bolt is incredibly solid, and he rounded it out with a Terra Electric. He's got 3 electric moves. He wants to boost those up. You can do some big damage with Claps and T-Bolts. It makes a lot of sense. But now for Dorian's signature Pokemon, Galarian Moltres. So originally he was Terra Ghost on his team that he won Victory Road with, but he decided to change it up for a Terra Blast Steel Galarian Moltres. So Terra Steel is the Terra of choice. I think obviously it pairs, Steel is one of the best types in the game, and it pairs really well with the base typing of Moltres, just because you're able to dodge those fairy moves. Ground types aren't really looking to hit you anyways, so it's kind of a safe defensive Steel type, defensive Terra type, but it does leave you a little bit vulnerable to fake outs. That's the only really downside, but I think it's a really cool adaptation and something that I think is really valuable, especially with those choice specs. Hitting something with a Terra Blast Steel sounds really nasty. Just hitting a Flutter Mane and potentially one-shotting it with a Terra Blast spec Steel is sick. The moveset is pretty simple outside of that Fiery Wrath, Snarl, Air Slash. Fiery Wrath is awesome again with the Rock Slides, with the Thunder Wave. This team is just very hacks positive, and in any situation that you're feeling a little dicey, you do have the ability to just bail yourself out, go nuts with some Fiery Wraths, with some Rock Slides, and just win the game. So I think Dorian's team is really good in the current format, and it's definitely something you should consider trying. Next up, we have Kylin's team. Now, Kylin is a very good player and a very good Dondozo player. Recently, Kylin was seen top cutting LAIC Internats, which is no easy feat, and also was able to make top cut at the 2024 World Championships without Dondozo. But in this case, we've got Dondozo. So let's break it down. Dondozo, nothing too crazy here. We've got Rave Crash, Order Up, Earthquake, the standard Dondozo fare. But instead of a Terra Grass and Leftover set that we traditionally see, we're instead seeing Rocky Helmet and Terra Fairy. Now, Rocky Helmet is actually really neat here. Urshifu, traditionally a Pokemon that you wouldn't think is good into Dondozo, is actually quite good into Dondozo. Dondozo is kind of walled by it. It doesn't do enough damage to usually two-shot it, so Urshifu will get off Surging Strikes, but thanks to Rocky Helmet, that is no longer a problem. Also, rain-boosted Terra Water Surging Strikes can go incredibly hard into Dondozo, so having something to deter that a little is valuable as well. And also, with the prevalence of the Ogre Pawns, they too, as well, will try to hit you with grass moves, so just getting that little extra trip can be incredibly valuable. And the Terra Fairy is kind of neat as well. It helps shuts down dragons such as Regidrago. It's just kind of a good, solid overall type that's not going to be too punishing. The Tatsugiri itself is pretty boring here. It's the standard Scarf set with Terra Steel. Terra Steel is an incredible defensive type for it, but it is just going to be those stabs and then a little bit of Icy Wind because it is a choice Scarf set. Next up, we've got the non-Dondozo mode. I'm going to start with Flutter Mane because I think Flutter Mane really ties all of them together. This Flutter Mane is a pretty standard set of Moonblast, Icy Wind, Taunt, and Protect. This just is more for speed control, just slowing things down with Icy Wind, being disruptive with Taunt, and then doing big damage with potential Terra Fairy Moonblast next to that Chi-Yu. The Flutter Mane, I think, just brings it all together because it does slow everything down. Chi-Yu, Glimmora, they're really strong Pokemon, but they oftentimes don't move first in this format. There's a lot of really strong, fast Pokemon, so being able to slow them down with Icy Wind is just icing on the cake. Now let's talk about this Cheat U. Cheat U is just a Pokemon that you don't see very often anymore. It's still really, really solid, and on this team especially, it's boosting up all of Kylin's other Pokemon outside the Dondozo mode, which it can't be next to really anyways. Raging Bolt, Glimmora, and Fluttermane all benefit from that Beads of Ruin, so I think it makes a lot of sense here. There's a lot of pieces that are traditionally on Dondozo teams like Glimmora, even the Fluttermane, but I think bringing it all together does make it really, really deadly, and I think it's always up to the Dondozo players to keep innovating, to push their archetype forward, just so that you aren't fully prepared for it. And the Chi-Yu, I think, does just that. The Chi-Yu here is just meant to do damage and just trade as best as it can with that Focus Sash. Next up is another staple on Dondozo teams, which is that of Glimmora. This set is really, really boring, but it is so goddamn effective. We're going to start off with Meteor Beam to raise our special attack with that Power Herb item. The synergy is insane. Next up is Sludge Bomb, which I think is really, really valuable in this format. Poison coverage is just so good into stuff like Rillaboom, Ogerpon, even just being able to hit Urshifu for almost a one-hit KO if the Meteor Beam boost is procced is absurd. And then we also have Earth Power to give you that coverage into the necessary steals that could cause Glimmora an issue. And then we have Spiky Shield, which is just a better version of Protect. Terra Grass is also really, really good here, just because a lot of Glimmora's problems do come from its typing, and being able to turn into a Grass type is awesome. You're able to just ignore stuff like Amoonguss and also just take moves from Urshifu really, really well. And then Raging Bolt is the final Pokemon of choice here. Raging Bolt is just one of the best Pokemon in the game, so it just makes sense to see it here. This is an AV set that is just all about dealing damage. We've got Thunderbolt, Thunderclap, Webs, a little bit of speed control there, and then Dragon Pulse to round it out. I really think this Raging Bolt set is so solid in the current format, and you just really can't go wrong with it. Terra Fairy is an amazing type for Raging Bolt just because it is able to get rid of those dragon weaknesses that do tend to cause it problems. It also does allow it to match up well into other Raging Bolts as well. Overall, I think Kylin's an exceptional player, and this type of team suits him really, really well. It just gives a lot of mix-up, a lot of pressure is always on the opponent to call when the Dondozo is coming in, or if the Dondozo is even there. So once again, Dondozo's on top, but unfortunately, it fell in top 8 this time. Now for our final team of top 8, we have Brok. Brok is an incredible player. He top 4'd the first tournament of Scarlet and Violet, and after that, he's just been a consistent threat in almost every single tournament he attends, going deep at Worlds, going deep at almost every major tournament he can attend. He is a force to be reckoned with, and this tournament is no different, landing himself a top 8 finish. Now at first glance, the team seems kind of boring, but then there's a Cresselia and Ursaluna staring back at you through the team sheet here. Cresselia and Ursaluna is kind of a weird combo. We've seen it do pretty decent in this format, but it hasn't been able to actually win any tournaments in Regulation F. We saw Porygon 2 Ursaluna win, but we've yet to see Cresselia win. Cresselia is a very cool Pokemon because I do think that it has a lot of function outside of the Ursaluna game plan mode. I think that Lunar Blessing is an incredible move and basically makes Amoonguss a non-factor if you're able to bring it in that specific matchup. I think Cresselia is very, very hard to KO. Its typing, while not the greatest, does give it some good stabs into Pokemon like Urshifu, like Amoonguss. I think Cresselia has a lot of value here, and Aaron saw that and brought it to the tournament. Obviously, pairing it up with Ursaluna. Ursaluna-Cresselia is a very obvious and easy combo. You're able to keep Ursaluna ever healthy with Lunar Blessing. You're able to keep yourself healthy, and you're able to set up a second Trick Room if you need it. Ursaluna, very simple set here with the stabs plus protect. Obviously, Headlong Rush is an incredible move, especially in a Rillaboom format. And it's just, Ursaluna is just kind of vanilla. It's kind of boring. It does what it needs to do, which is do damage and give you a very, very potent and scary Trick Room mode that you have to respect. Now, rounding out the rest of his team is the standard really strong balance, guys. We'll start with Fluttermane. I think Choice Specs Fluttermane is, again, in a very, very incredible spot. With all the bulky Fluttermanes, if you're able to keep your Specs Fluttermane healthy, whether that's with Fake Out and Intimidate, or with Follow Me or Rage Powder, Fluttermane can do tons of damage and completely hard carry your team, and I see that is no different here with Brok. He's got a Terra Fairy Choice Specs Fluttermane, dealing tons of damage with both the Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam, opting for Power Gem for that coverage against stuff like Ogerpon and Incineroar, and then Shadow Ball for the stab. It's a very simple but effective set that I think is very, very potent currently. Next up is Amoonguss. This is a classic set in this format, the Amoonguss set. We see Rocky Helmet to deter Urshifu, but also just to switch in on Urshifu and deal 49% to that guy. You also have Protect, obviously. Spore to put things to sleep. Sludge Bomb is actually very, very good in this format. There's tons of grass types, specifically in the Balance Mirror. Sludge Bomb goes incredibly, incredibly hard. And then Rage Powder to keep your other Pokemon safe. Then we have Urshifu with Mystic Water. Mystic Water Terra Steel seems to be one of the best sets going into Toronto, and I don't expect it to slow down in any way. It just gives you so much good defensive typing. Steel is amazing, and if you're able to position him well, with that, so speed control, such as Trick Room, or you're able to protect him with Rage Powder, he can go absolutely nuts. Detect, obviously, to protect himself. Surging Strikes is the best move in the game. Close Combat to have your fighting coverage, and then Aqua Jet for the priority, also synergizing with that Mystic Water. Mystic Water just feels so good right now. You just kind of upset the calcs that everyone's trying to protect themselves from, and you just do a ton of damage, right? Mystic Water is just a multiplier on a multiplier on a multiplier. It feels really, really good, especially with the Surging Strikes. And then finally, we have AV Incineroar, which seems to be one of the better sets right now. There's a lot of really strong special attackers, such as Landorus, Fluttermane, and having that Assault Vest does allow you to negate that. And you're able to sneak around KOs that you normally would get hit by and potentially get off a U-turn, get off a fake out, or just live another turn. And that can be incredibly, incredibly valuable for a Pokemon such as Incineroar. So I think overall, Aaron's team is just really, really solid. It's got a Trick Room mode. It has a really, really offensive balance mode with this Choice Specs Fluttermane. And I think it just looks like an incredible team moving forward. I think Cresselia Ursaluna has yet to win a major, but I think that this could be the foundation for that with this team. Now we are into top 4, the semifinalists of the tournament. First up, we have Jack Clarke. So Jack Clarke, I would say, is most well known for his insane Drifloon Indeedee Male Toxtricity team that he was able to pilot to a top 8 finish at a regional last year. Jack's known for some wacky shit, and this is no different. We have an absolutely insane roster of Pokemon here from Jack that, again, was able to place top 4 in the tournament. So first up, we've got Entei. Entei is kind of a weird Pokemon, but in this format, he does have a lot of value. Inner Focus is so good at deterring the Fake Out Brothers. He just has great coverage for the Fake Out Brothers, whether it's Sacred Fire for Rillaboom or just Stomping Tantrum for that Incineroar. But another really underappreciated fact about Entei is it does sometimes really suck to switch into him. Even if you resist the hit, like with, let's say, Urshifu, you still don't want to switch on a Sacred Fire because you may end up burned, and that can change the tide of a battle completely. That 50% burn chance is absurd. I think Entei is just this really hard hitter, and he's made extra bulky with the screens on Grimmsnarl, and he's made extra fast with that Tailwind. So I think it's just a pretty solid, good team for Entei to abuse his Inner Focus in, because I think having that speed control with Thunder Wave or Tailwind is really, really key for letting Entei do his thing. Next up, we have a very cool Roaring Moon set. We've got Knockoff, Acrobatics, Tailwind, and Protect, but this one is also Booster Attack Roaring Moon, which is something you don't really see. Jack's doubling down on saying, hey, I'm just going to be bulky. I'm going to make sure I can use these screens and then set up Tailwind and just go crazy with it. So I think it's a really cool set, because normally you'd see something like, I don't know, Breaking Swipe into this set, but having that Knockoff and Acrobatics is just amazing, amazing coverage. I think Knockoff is just such a broken move, and then I think the flying coverage is really, really needed in this format because you just don't really get it outside of Tornadus. I think the flying coverage is the main reason to use him. Just being able to smack around Ogerpon Rillaboom feels amazing. Then, next up, we have Golden Go. It's a pretty normal Golden Go set. We got Make It Rain, we got Nasty Plot, Protect, but then we also have Hex. Now, Hex is absolutely diabolical work with Thunder Wave, doubling the base power for a base 100 Ghost-type move when they have a status condition. Now, the only status condition you can have is that Thunder Wave, but still a very, very cool tech, and something that could really mess with people's calcs. I think it also helps out, it helps Golden Go get that extra damage because it is a Citrus Berry set, so it's got the bulk and now it has the damage on that single target hex. I think it's a really cool tech. Next up, we got Ogerpon. Ogerpon Water, again, is just that really consistent, good Pokemon. The Watergrass coverage is just amazing in that format, but Jack decided to round it out with Swords Dance instead of Follow Me, trying to really just double down on those screens, double down on that Tailwind, and just try to get the most value he can possibly get out of Ogerpon. I think it's a really cool choice because I think a lot of players aren't ready for something like this. Ogerpon Water is a very popular Pokemon, but I don't know how many people are ready for a +2 Ogerpon Water. So I think it's a really cool tech and something that I think could go underappreciated, especially with those screens. It seems really easy to set up. Obviously, if you Terra as well, you get a +1 special defense. So this just seems like a really obnoxious Pokemon to KO, especially with that Horn Leech. Then we've got Okidogi, which is like, I think he's really good. I think Okidogi is a strong Pokemon. We just don't see a lot of him. Okidogi's got that Gunk Shot. Again, another amazing Pokemon that is good into those grass types. I feel like Jack's team is just like the anti-grass type team. We have Entei, Terraflying Roaring Moon, and Okidogi. Like, bringing a Rillaboom or bringing a Ogerpon just feels like horrible into this team. Rounding it out with Drain Punch, and then Upper Hand is also very, very cool. Obviously, Jack has Entei with Inner Focus to break through fake outs or flinches while he's in Tailwind, but he also has Upper Hand, which allows him to, again, potentially stop fake outs so that his other Pokemon can continue doing the work that they need to do. And then High Horsepower to round it out for ground coverage. Again, ground coverage is really, really valuable. And I think like this team does seem not weak to Incineroar, but Incineroar does have some value against Roaring Moon, Wellspring, and Golden Go specifically, but having the threat of Guard Dog is pretty cool. And I think Okidogi is in a really, really strong spot right now. Like, Jack really showcased this mod, and I think Okidogi, we've been sleeping on him. And then finally we have Grimmsnarl, who I kind of think is the star of this team. There aren't Grimmsnarl teams in Reg F. No one's really using Grimmsnarl. So playing against the screens, sometimes you just set up absolute juggernauts, and it just feels impossible to break through them. Grimmsnarl's got that standard set of Spirit Break, Thunder Wave, Reflect, and Light Screen, just making his entire team unkillable with those screens. And also, I think just having that fairy coverage was incredibly valuable throughout his run. Just being able to slap things around with Spirit Break, whether it's just to lower stats or just to hit them super effectively. No one likes getting smacked around by Spirit Break. Overall, I think Jack's team is really cool. Definitely a team I did not expect to do well in this tournament. I don't think I could have came up with these 6 Pokemon ever in a million years, trapped in a infinite time loop. I was not coming up with this team. So I think it's pretty cool that Jack was able to whip this one out. And congrats to him for getting a really solid top 4 finish at an American Regional that he flew across the pond to play in, which I think is really cool. So our other semi-finalist is none other than Justin Tang. Justin has had one of the best seasons I've seen in a very, very long time. He is playing at a level that is just absolutely absurd. He always falls just short of winning the entire thing, but he has just been putting up performance after performance after performance. I believe this is the 5th consecutive cut in a row, which... Dude, I don't even know. That's insane. So Justin is just the peak of consistency right now, and he brought a pretty cool team to this tournament. I believe this was actually the first time he went X2 in day 1 as well, but he's able to pull through and make it to this top cut and land in top 4. So let's take a look at this team here. We got Ogerpon Hearthflame. Nothing too crazy. We got Ivy Cudgel, Grassy Glide, Follow Me, and Spiky Shield. It's just a pretty standard strong Ogerpon moveset. And then we've got Rillaboom to help enable that Ogerpon in a way, give it Grassy Terrain, Woodhammer, Grass Glide, Horsepower, and Fake Out. Again, High Horsepower is just so broken right now. Being able to hit those steals, those fires, Incineroar, Golden Go is really, really valuable, and I think we're valuing it a lot more than U-Turn lately, which is something I find pretty interesting. Both of these having Terra Fire as well. It's a really, really good defensive Terra type. Next up is Focus Sash Tornadus. One of my favorite sets for Tornadus, just because it makes him just a bit more aggressive, because you don't actually have to worry about him going down. You get to also EV him in more or less max special attack, max HP, max speed. You do have to run some bulk to try and live with Surging Strikes, which can be really, really valuable. But for the most part, you do just get to attack freely. If there's not an Urshifu, you're living the turn as long as, you know, you get a KO. And sometimes it's really easy to do with such an aggressive team as we see here. The Icy Wind is also a really, really cool tech in the Tailwind Mirror. I think Sash just, again, frees up Tornadus to play a certain way, and it looks really, really good on this team. And again, flying coverage is so key in this format, so I love that, you know, Tornadus is here. Bleakwind Storm can be a bit inconsistent, obviously, but again, flying coverage, king. And then we have Regidrago. Regidrago is a Pokemon that is always kind of seen. He's always kind of flirting in and out of the meta. Is he good? Is he not? The minute you sleep on him, he becomes really absurd. So Regidrago's back. He got his top 4 finish here, which means the next one is not a Regidrago tournament. The moveset is the classic Regidrago moveset: Dragon Energy, Draco Meteor, Earth Power, and Protect. Now, you may be wondering, why does he have Life Orb? on a Pokemon that knows Dragon Energy, which again is like a Water Spout Eruption type move, the damage is just so damn good that it's just worth it. Like, you're able to change moves, it gives you a big juicy earth power as well, and let's be honest, when you drop below a certain number of HP, you're just like, I'm just gonna Draco anyways. I think you just squeeze every bit of damage possible from Regidrago with this item, and it just makes the Pokemon absurd. Because usually if you get off 1 or 2 Dragon Energies, the game is probably already in your favor anyways, so I think it's a pretty cool item, and it's kind of the norm we've seen from now on. Then we have the classic, the OG himself, Choice Scarf or Shifu. This has been a staple in Scarlet and Violet, and it is still a staple now. It's not being seen as much. It's very vulnerable to stuff like Raging Bolt, so it's not very popular, but Justin brought it back, and I think it's still pretty strong, right? If you're able to enable it, it can go kind of nuts. Close Combat, Surging Strikes, Aqua Jet, and U-Turn with Terra Water. Terra Water is the classic. Again, you really got to be careful of Raging Bolt, but I think it's a really strong set. And then finally, he rounds the team out with a Choice Specs Golden Go, which is something we don't see a lot of in this format. It is on one of the teams upcoming, but Choice Specs Golden Go just hasn't been really popular. The Nasty Plot set is pretty good, but this kind of seemed to be the Golden Go tournament. Going into this tournament, there was a lot of those bulky Fluttermanes, and one of the best ways to deal with that Pokemon is Golden Go. Because they're not running Shadow Ball anymore, you don't even have to commit your Terra type, and you can just smack them with a Make It Rain. It makes it really difficult to lead. And then, if they switch out, they lose their booster, they lose that speed, and they become a lot less threatening. So I think Golden Go was just a really stellar call, and Justin made that decision wisely. Overall, I think Justin's team is really cool. It's just very aggressive, and he just kind of gets to keep his foot on the gas the entire match. So I think it's a pretty strong team. I'm curious to see how good it is going forward. I think it's got a lot of good pieces, and it is just kind of very unique in this format. All right, we are into our finalists here. The first finalist is none other than Paul Chua. So Paul Chua plays second at this tournament. He is just the king of standard. And what do we have here but a standard team? So this is the Calm Mind Raging Bolt. This is the stuff that everyone and their grandmothers and their mothers and their fathers told you to fear was Calm Mind Leftovers Raging Bolt, and it once again got finals. We didn't see it a lot throughout the tournament, but it still was a very successful Pokemon here with Paul piloting it with that Calm Mindset. The plan is simple. You set up Calm Minds, you attack with Thunderclaps when you need to, and then you just Dragon Balls for insane damage. It can get into some sticky, awkward situations if Thunderclap runs out of PP, or you fight certain Pokemon, whether that's Rage Powder, Terra Fairy, Amoonguss. Basically anything with Follow Me and Terra Fairy does shut this down, but obviously there's 5 other Pokemon to help get through that. But it does have its weaknesses, but it's still just really strong. Then we have Rillaboom, one of the Fake Out brothers, to help enable Raging Bolt. It gives it Grassy Terrain and Leftovers. This Pokemon heals so much HP, and Rillaboom's just there to do that. The set itself is pretty standard. We got those normal stabs, again, high horsepower, and then Terra Fire for that defensive type. Now we have another set of Pokemon in Ogerpon Hearthflame. We've got Ivy Cudgel, Grassy Glide, Swords Dance, Spiky Shield. This is the other set of Pokemon that you need to be weary of, and something you need to watch out for. Grassy Glide is really sneaky. Mold Breaker can catch you off guard with those Fergraphs, just so you know. And also, it just starts to do insane damage with priority. You don't really need speed control on this team because you're able to just smack things around with your priority moves, whether that's Clap, your double Grassy Glides, or even Aqua Jet. Then we have our Shifu Water. This one is actually a Focus Sash set, which is something we've seen fallen off a ton, but Paul opted to run back to it. I still think it's very strong, especially with the Fake Out brothers. There's a lot of safe guaranteed plays you can make that don't involve using your Terra, especially into stuff like Fluttermane. So I think it's a really solid set. Still, it's just something we aren't seeing as much. It's our Shifu, let's be real, this guy is broken. Then we have Fluttermane. This is the bulky Fluttermane that we were talking about. This is the set that everyone wanted to beat. We have Moonblast, Protect, Icy Wind, and Thunderwave. It's just a speed control bot. It enables everybody else on the team, but it just doesn't do a lot of damage. That's really the only downside. It's still a very strong fairy type. Paul opting for Terra Grass instead, so he's able to navigate around those Amoongusses and just be able to hit things with Moonblast, or just in general, just as a nice defensive Terra type into Urshifu. And then Paul rounded it out with the best Pokemon in the game, Incineroar, Intimidate, with Fake Out, Flare Blitz, Knockoff, Parting Shot, with a Citrus Berry. So it doesn't have that immunity to Spore, but he does have 2 grass types, so, and a Terra Grass on Flutter. So it's not a big deal. Overall, this team is painfully boring. This is the team that everyone wants to beat, and I'm sure Paul's version is about to be everywhere on ladder. So be prepared, be ready to beat it. But this team is just so solid. It lets a good player be good. You have tons of fake out, tons of util, and it just lets a really good player shine. So this team isn't going anywhere. I'm just really glad it was defeated and it didn't win the tournament. And finally, in first place is Cary. Now, Cary is someone that I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily expect to win a regional right off the bat, but Cary's silently climbed his way up to being one of the best players in North America. Starting off with a really solid top 8 at Louisville Regional last year, followed by a Portland Regional top 4, Cary has been steadily climbing up the ranks to become one of the players to be feared. And I think he finally achieved greatness here and won his first regional. And I really do think this was a long time coming. It's been that steady improvement of slowly refining his play, refining his teams, and now he's able to reach the top and win an entire regional. So let's break down his team. The team itself is pretty crazy. We've got a Specs Golden Go in the first slot here. Specs Golden Go again, showing up Justin Tang, using it to great success, and now Cary is as well. It's just a really solid start right now into those flutter mains, but Cary also decided to run a Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam set, so giving it further fairy coverage. You'll notice there isn't any other Terra Fairy coverage on the team, so this can be incredibly valuable. The moveset's really simple, it's about dealing damage. Next up is Urshifu with that Mystic Water, Surging, Close Combat, Aqua Jet, and Protect. Now, the one big thing about this Urshifu that I think sets it apart is, of course, that Terra Fire. Now, Terra Fire sucks in the Urshifu mirror, but it is specifically absolutely insane into Ogerpon, Fire, Incineroar, and Rillaboom. Being able to Terra in front of the grass types and not have to worry about a mind game, like if you Terra in front of Ogerpon and you Terra Steel, you have to worry about Ivy Cudgel, right? Or you have to worry about high horsepower from Rillaboom. But Terra Fire negates that Ivy Cudgel at least. It still is weak to high horsepower, but still, it is a very good, potent Terra. It just seemed really good. From watching his sets, it was doing mad work against the Terra Grass Flutter main, against Ogerpon Fire as well. I just think an excellent call from him and his building group, and it paid off, allowing him to win the entire tournament. Next up, we have Roaring Moon again, which is, again, a Pokemon I didn't expect to do well, but we've got Breaking Swipe, Knockoff, Tailwind, and Protect. This one is definitely just a Tailwind bot, meant to enable Golden Go, Urshifu, and Landorus. I think, again, Roaring Moon looked really good. It was in a great spot in the meta. I think that Dark typing is really solid. The Terra Poison is a great defensive Terra type. And I think it just does work against that really strong Fake Out Brothers core. And I think that it was definitely a team to beat going into this. So it was very cool to see this Roaring Moon succeed. Then we've got a pretty classic Incineroar with Fake Out, Flare Blitz, Knockoff, and Parting Shot, opting for a Terra Flying to dodge the Landorus mind games, just get out of there, get some more value out of them, and then running Rocky Helmet as well. I think Rocky Helmet is a really cool item, just because it is very scary to Surging Strikes into the Incineroar, or it just starts to add up, right? Like if Rillaboom's hitting you with Fake Out, if Ogerpon's hitting you with a Woodhammer on a switch, right? Like it can be incredible value, and I think it's just kind of a cool item to run on the team. And again, Urshifu doesn't want to slap that item either. Then we've got a Citrus Berry Amoonguss with that classic Sludge Bomb set. Sludge Bomb, Spore, Rage Powder, Protect is the goated set in this format, so it makes sense to see it here as well. Amoonguss is just really solid. It helps enable those Pokemon. It helps enable Golden Go to do more damage with Make Rain. It helps enable Surging Strikes. I just think Amoonguss is just an incredible Pokemon, and we see it here as well. And then finally, rounding it out with Landorus I think this Pokemon is really good. Ground types are just insane value, and it's no surprise to see it here, winning the entire tournament, just going as deep as it did. Opting for that Sandseer set, which I think is really strong and really potent. It gives you that spread coverage that I think is so good on Landorus. And then obviously Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, and Protect are very strong as well. Overall, this team is really sick, and it's really cool that we're able to see it defeat Balance in the finals. We have a brand new, fresh team that was able to climb to the top. So maybe Reg F isn't dead, but again, congrats to Cary, and congrats to all the competitors that went really deep this weekend. This tournament was really difficult, and it was a really fun tournament to watch, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, subscribe, I appreciate it a ton, and I'll see you guys next time.